and, and I'm like, oh, this thing is recording me.
All right, it's recording now. All right. Hi, everyone. Wendell and I are doing a virtual porch chat because Wendell's having his kitchen remodeled and he needed to be there. And I have been home working and hibernating, basically. And just so y'all know, like Wendell and I live maybe 5 minutes from each other.
Yeah.
But life happens. And as we discovered in the pandemic that, this works too. So we thought we would get on here and have a conversation. We've been talking about things that we want to talk about, but we have not sat down and recorded anything because we have been having conversations all the time. And so we were having this conversation today. Wendell called me to rant about something and it kind of morphed into a conversation. And then I said, hey, let's record this because I think that this is a good conversation. So do you want to start from there?
Yeah, so let me just say this, that you said we a lot. And remember, I'm on here because of you. This isn't a we making a decision. You've made the decision and I'm supporting you.
Okay, thank you.
But I know I need to get there and I'm trying to get there, but I'm not quite there yet.
Thank you for your clarity. I appreciate that, but I don't think anybody out there cares. Whether it's we or I or whomever. Oh, you know what? I want to talk about something real funny before, because I was thinking about this today. I thought about it twice, actually, because I got more Christmas cards and I was, I don't know, I was somewhere and I saw a glue gun and it made me think about you. So, and why that's relevant is because Wendell, just so everyone knows, Wendell and I, when we were younger, we used to have this competition about sending our Christmas cards out. And so we would try to beat each other to get them in the mail. So now here we are in our 50s and I have not sent a Christmas card and neither has Wendell because I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm tired.
Exactly. And the crazy part about it, I haven't done it in the last 2 years. And I have the cards, like they're in my drawer.
They're sitting in my bookcase.
And I even have the list of people who sent me cards last year that I was going to send one this year. And
I'm just like, you know what? I just don't care. And I know that's bad. And it's not like I'm not even like bah humbug or grinchy or whatever. Like, I just am lazy. Like, I just don't feel like I'm crazy about it, Wendell. I even have stamp. I have everything I need to send Christmas cards out. I just not doing it. So,
and I think it leans into what we want to talk about, which is, we're making different decisions. We're spending our time where we feel it needs to be spent.
To take care of, well, for me, I'll say it, I'll make an I statement. For me, it's about taking care of me. Like,
that's right.
Even if I don't feel like doing anything, like it really is about taking care of me.
Yeah. And the same with me. I mean, I'm checking in with myself. You made that comment earlier, like checking in people. So the premise of our conversation today is around the Twitch situation. Ellen DeGeneres, her DJ.
Right.
And I followed his career through the years, and during the pandemic, like many people, I landed on his page on TikTok and would follow his dance. And he posted a lot of dance.
And try to get others to join you in his
dance. And I would try to do it at home, although I've never really quite gotten there. Because it's too much rehearsal. Like I can't naturally dance like I used to. But at any rate, he always seemed so happy, and even his role on Ellen's show was sort of, I likened it to a hype man.
Yeah,
He got
yeah.
the crowd hyped because he
Right.
really wasn't a DJ.
Right.
And they even said that in one of the episodes, like he was a fake DJ or something.
Yeah.
And so we were having the conversation we started out earlier was around, let me say, when things like this happen in the world and we hear about it, I take the approach of, what do I do with the information? How do I make different, better decisions? What can I gain from it?
Mm-hmm.
From without trying to add or take away from what has happened.
Right.
It's sad. I was almost in tears because I'm like, he brought me so much joy.
Yeah.
And it's sad because I know it's sad because he's no longer here, but also he has, wife and kids and young kids.
Yeah.
And so that was just really sad to me, and it affected me, and I'm almost in tears now just thinking about it. And I was thinking about the persona of hype man or giving everyone else happiness. Then at the end, it feels like maybe he was struggling.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he was struggling.
Yeah.
And not maybe. And so I begin to think about, I've had one moment in my life where I was consistently happy for an extended period of time. And that was around getting married.
Right.
And I made a conscious decision. I'm going to be happy. I'm not going to let anybody steal my joy. I'm not dealing with anything that's not helping me be happy in this moment. So I would say a year and a half, I was on a love high. And
oh, wait, a year and a half?
Yeah, because we were
Yeah, I know.
planning for over a year, and then there were some months after where I was still riding the wave.
Right. Yeah.
And then there was a moment where I had to come down, and I came down quickly.
Yeah.
And it was all around death and losing people. My uncle passed away a week before the wedding, and we had some unresolved situations and that we never talked about or resolved. And then my brother passed away a couple months after the wedding. And I find out on the way to host a family reunion. Like, right. We are in the car, like, do we turn around? Do we go? And I had to go.
Right.
Because I had all of my family come into Orlando. I'm hosting.
Right.
And I had to go.
Not only are you hosting, but you have planned everything.
Yes. Everything is under my name.
Right. Yeah.
My card. So I gotta go.
Right.
And so what that made me think about when I heard about Twitch, it made me think about coming down off of that high. And if I was someone whose persona was to be happy and hype, and I'm like, when does that leave room for dealing with things? And then,
what do you mean by that? Like, so, because when you were talking about this, one of the things I know about you, and I don't know that I've ever shared this with you, but I have the same kind of thing. I don't know if it's to the degree that you have it, but when we have taken vacations in the past and we have come back home, we've talked about you having separation anxiety from not being on vacation. And so I equate that to what you're talking about because there's some similarity there.
Yeah, somewhat. So like being happy, like making that decision, I intentionally didn't, I try to be in every moment. And if something happens in the moment, I try to nip it in if we need to have a hard conversation, let's have it.
Right.
Let's deal with it and move on. And, I don't hold on to stuff. I say what I need to say. You say we understand. and we don't even have
Are you
to
talking about me specifically?
No, I'm just saying it's anybody. But we don't have to, agree. As long as you understand my perspective and I understand yours, we can move on. Right.
Yeah. And
well, during
yeah.
but during that happy period in my life, I didn't deal with anything that wasn't happiness or that wasn't lending itself to happiness. I would just be like, I put it compartmentalized, put it in a box and set it aside.
Was that during the time one of your exes passed away too? Like, is that why you ever addressed that?
That was a year before the wedding. So,
okay, because I never fully understood why you wouldn't talk to his family and address all the stuff. Now I understand, like, because I know you to be a person to just sit down and meet things head on. And you said, like, I have to really think about this and come and circle back to it, which, that's a trait that you possess also. So I didn't think too much of it, but I did kind of think like, oh, well, this is interesting because you clearly had some very definitive feelings around his death.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, he was my ex.
Right.
And I was, being put in a position, and I'm getting married, and I was being put in a position that was uncomfortable. And it caused some tension between me and Stephen. Not much, because Stephen, understood it, but we had to have some conversations about,
sure.
How I moved in that moment.
Right, yeah.
And so, but back to, me coming down off this high, when I came down, I came crashing down. And because all of the boxes of things that I had not resolved, at that point, I had no mechanism. I couldn't hold up happiness at that point, like I did for that year and a half.
Because it would have been fake, or you would have had to.
I don't know that it was fake, because I really was feeling it. Like, I feel it was real, but I don't think it's realistic to be consistently that way.
Oh yeah.
And so my point of in bringing this back to the Twitch situation, I was just like, if you are the hype man, you're the happy person, you're dancing, making everybody like, where's there space for you to deal with things? Because even if you're dealing off camera, you got to get back on camera and be happy when you're not feeling.
Yeah.
And you fake it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, so we don't leave room for the human experience in a lot of ways, and how society is set up, how we even deal with each other. Like, I was thinking about this situation where I had a coworker that someone I supervised, and her mom passed. She was older than I was. Her mom passed, and she was her mom's caretaker. As a matter of fact, she had lived with her mom most of her life. She moved away at one point, and then, her and her mom became roommates for the most part. And so when her mom died, while I'm supervising her, it was very, I tried to be there as much as I could. And she came back and like, you take a week off and then you come back to work. And everyone is expecting you to be okay.
Are they?
Yeah, for the most part. No one, I'll say maybe a week or two, maybe folks were like, okay. But at some point it became, she's not performing, she's not, what's going on with her. And I had to remind them, she just lost her mom 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. Like, give her space, give her time. Her mom was in her house.
So for me, well, I've never had to, that I know of, I've never had to manage someone who lost a parent or a loved one for that matter, and comes back to work. But
society, you don't get time off. You might get 2 days for the funeral.
But that's
And
contradictory because we also know that, because people talk about it, like in social circles, people talk about you never get over the loss of a parent. You just don't.
right, but that's
So
not how society is set up.
no. I do think that's how society is set up. That's not how the workplace is set up.
Yeah. Well,
Because
even society, like at some point we get to a point with family and friends or loved ones after they've gone through something and it lingers on longer than we expect it to, and we're like, get over it, and it doesn't leave space for that person to do their work and process. I think that takes time to get there.
well, for me, I can only speak for me. Like I don't know that there are time limitations on anyone getting over grief.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that.
And so I try to be respectful. And while in the back of my head is probably plucking my nerves that, we're 9 months out and you're still talking about this, not the loss of a parent, but something else that you might
Yeah.
be grieving. I'm not going to be disrespectful and tell you to get over it because that's just really dismissive. That is, it's just uncalled.
Yeah. So well, Scott, most people won't tell you to get over it. It's the way people
Their actions.
interact with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the way
Well,
things
that's what I was
like
going to talk about though, because I do think that there's a balance there. So you may pull back, but like we were just talking about, I have to take care of me. And if
yeah.
you are keeping all of your grief onto me, it's also impacting me subconsciously or consciously. It's having an impact on me. And so sometimes I'll look at my phone and be like, I can't talk about that anymore. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's just like, no. So
Yeah.
it's not a personal thing, but it is a protective, like I have got to protect me because I'm all
Yeah.
I got. So I respect that you're going through your shit, but I need to take care of Scott.
That's right. And so that's the crux of this conversation. How much of it is our responsibility and how much is it the other person's responsibility? Because everybody's trying to take care of themselves,
Yeah.
but then there's but we don't live on an island by
No.
ourselves.
No.
And so we still have to quote unquote play the game. What and live and be in society. Like I can't go to work after losing my brother,
Yeah.
and dealing with that. I still had to go to work. I
Yeah.
still had to put that face on. I couldn't be in a meeting crying. I mean, I could, but it wouldn't have been. No one would have been. The conversation would have been, "Oh, he just lost his brother." It would have been, because folks soon forget
Yeah.
about that because they're not
Oh,
dealing with it.
not soon, almost immediately. Like
Yeah.
after the next day, they have forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah. That you're going through anything.
Yeah.
They're asking you for the report.
Right. Yeah.
Or the deck or something.
Yeah.
And that's the point I was making. Like there's no room sometimes for you to be human and to deal with things, particularly in the workplace.
No, there's not, because I've even said like at work, which is, in the moment I mean it, but it might be harsh. It's like I'm not here to make friends, and I'm here to work, do my job, and go on about my business. And so, the underlying message in my statement could be, don't have any empathy. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm here to do my job and leave. Like, and I don't care what's going on with you. And that's not necessarily true. But I say it in the context of people that bring their drama in and sit around and want to be like, girl, look at what she has on, or did you know she's doing, I'm not here for all that. Like I don't care what y'all are doing in your personal life. So I do care if you are having some mental health issues just from a personal human standpoint. somebody wrote under my YouTube today, because I posted a video yesterday where I was talking about Twitch. And I said, one of the things that I said was respect people's space, but check on your friends. And so this person wrote, well, how do you respect someone's space and check on their friend and check on your friends? And my response was that every friendship is different. People have different boundaries. And I thought about you when I wrote that, because there was a moment when I lived in Buckhead and I was dealing with depression, and I was not responding to you. I wasn't responding to anyone. I don't know if you remember this. And you told me later that you had come to my house and you were peeking in my windows and stuff. And I thought, and you know, when you talk, we laughed about it, but I appreciated that because you were concerned, like you know. But now I have, and what I said on the video, now I have learned that when my friends check on me, I need to at least be responsive. I don't have to like go into like some huge dialogue, but I can respond and say, I'm okay. I'm struggling, but I'm here, I'm present, whatever.
I think
that's my responsibility in it, right? Like, I think that that is the very least I can do as a person that is suffering with depression. Because if I were in a bad place, I can respond, I'm not in a good place.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe that, I don't know what I mean by that. I don't know if that means come get me and take me to a hospital, whatever. I think that when you are not in a state of depression, these kinds of conversations need to take place with your friends, because so they know how to be there and be supportive, and how to respect your boundaries and respect your space. Like, I think that, that's, I just think that it's important to talk about this when you are not depressed, because it does take a lot of, I said it yesterday, like, Monday I got dressed. I didn't go anywhere. Tuesday, I got dressed and took a shower and went to Pilates. Yesterday, I got dressed and was out of the house Christmas shopping and doing stuff. And today, I got dressed and did some stuff also. But it's progressive, right? Like, you're in a hole, and so day by day, you're trying to climb out of this hole. And it takes a lot of energy to put on that persona that you were just talking about with Twitch, like to have, and in the case of him, like, that's high energy. I don't even have to have that.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like, that is like the highest of energy. Like, you're trying to pass your energy on to an entire audience and get them out of their seats and laughing and dancing and enjoying the show. Like, you're setting the tone. So, I can't even imagine, like, if you're in a state of depression, how exhausting that can be.
Yeah, because remember, we had the conversation, I think it was this week, where how I can't just have a full day, come home, and go straight to bed. Like, I have to sit and decompress. Like, sometimes I'll watch mindless TV, but and sometimes it's hours just going through the day. So much has happened, and it's like, okay, I didn't do this, I didn't, like, just kind of taking, summary of your day and what it all meant. Like, I do that a lot. I drink tea and sit on the sofa, and Stephen will be in the bed knocked out, like, and I'm always like, how can he do that? Like, stuff is whirling in my head. Like, I have to, and I need it to be quiet and him not to be roaming around. Like, so it just,
do you replay conversations? Like,
oh yes,
like I do. I will wake up in the middle of the night and replay a conversation, and then sometimes I will grab my phone and type stuff that I should have said, so I know to circle back. And particularly if somebody pissed me off, like at work, like, I will type stuff. It's like, oh, let me write this down so I don't.
You already know my situation earlier.
Yeah.
My rant. You already know it's gonna be we're gonna have to circle back.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna talk to you about it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna circle back to the person.
Yeah.
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 With what I didn't say.
Oh my God. Right.
or to make some points clear, you know.
It's that nice, nasty stuff that you about to. It's just like.
Why that's so funny to me? Because my grandmother used to always call me nice nasty. So that's why.
I mean,
I didn't know what that meant at the time. I
it's
used
an
to be
art
like,
form.
huh?
It's an art form to that.
Yeah, I used to say to myself as a kid, well, whatever it is, I guess that's what I am. Like, if my grandmother said it, I must be.
Look, that should be a book. The Art of Nice Nasty. Our conversation.
Yeah. We all talk about giving grace, but I don't know that. Number one, I don't think society in a lot of ways is set up that way, to give people the latitude and the time and the respect, and just give people grace. We all say these things like, you never know what people are going through,
right.
Give people grace, but then do we practice it?
We don't.
So
I want to talk about that for a second, because I thought about this the other day and I got a little heated about it. And just bear with me because I'm gonna draw the line.
Okay.
So the whole TJ Holmes and Amy Robach thing, and how I was reading this article that popped up in my feed about how people are sending Amy Robach's husband all this support. I forget his name, but he used to be on Melrose Place years ago. And I thought about that, and I kind of was like, well, how do we know that Amy Robach and I think his name's Andrew something, the Melrose Place guy, weren't in an open relationship? How do we know that she and the Melrose Place guy, how do we know he wasn't cheating and she subsequently started cheating? How do we know TJ Holmes and his wife don't have some sort of agreement? Like, people have this quick thing that they just want to instantly form an opinion about some shit that they don't know shit about.
Yeah.
And so, but then in the next second, they want to give people grace. Well, you should just fuck off. Like, mind your fucking business. Like, that is if you were so busy tending to your shit instead of worry about some shit you don't even fucking know, you don't know shit about those people, but you got an opinion. And they will jump on a bandwagon so quick and feel so proud. It's like, what the fuck? Mind your business. You don't even know these people.
One of the things.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you were.
I'm sorry, but because that kind of stuff like irritates the fuck out of me. And people will sit around and have all these conversations and all these opinions about stuff, and it's like, and when you come to me, it's like, I have my eyes on my paper. I don't know those folks. Nor do I.
The only reason I will engage in those conversations, it's not necessarily to solve or have input into the situation. I look at it more so like, once again, how I started this conversation. I'm thinking about those situations and how does that play out in my life? What does that mean? How, and I think about all of the perspectives so that if I ever find myself in a situation, hopefully I've learned enough to make it through.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Like even the Deion Sanders, like I told my sister, she called me one day asking, she'll call me. So since my brother died, my sister and I become a lot closer and we talk more. And because she and my older brother were closer than we were. And so, she's calling me about politics. She's calling me about all these things. And I'm like, we've been a doctor, a psychiatrist, a policeman. I'm like, girl, we got a lot of titles. We need to update our resume.
Wait,
But yeah, and I think, everybody, here's where the rub is when you're a public person. And even in doing the videos, I think, even us doing this, I think that you do open yourself up to others' opinions.
Yeah.
Just like you want people to like, share, whatever. What's like, share, and what subscribe?
Subscribe, yeah.
Yeah. Just like
you notice I've never said that on any of my videos. Because
Right.
I don't think people I'm not here for that. Like if something I say resonates with you, great. I'm happy to whatever. But if not, then keep it moving. Like I'm not here for any other reason other than I feel like I have something to say. I feel like I enjoy our conversations. I feel like people that participate or see our conversations that want to be a part of the dialogue, great. But people that offered me their unsolicited opinions, like somebody gave me some review about, I don't think you're simple. I'm like, bitch, fuck you. Like, I don't give a fuck what you think. Ma'am, I did not.
Right. But so the point I was going to make about when you open yourself up, when you're in these spaces, I think that there is some balance in that. There's some responsibility you have to your intention. And if your intention is informing or whatever it is,
Yeah.
But and also I think there is some room that you leave open to learn and grow, which may come in the form of criticism,
So honestly, I was being a smart ass. I wasn't making a joke. I was being a smart ass because when I'm like, fuck you, but I do kind of sit back and think about wait, is there some truth to what they're saying? And I do kind of, because I'm a very introspective person and I do self-reflect before I respond. Because, I used to, just my corporate life, I'd be like, I bang it on the keys, like, bitch, you ain't gonna get me.
Look, I still do it, but before I sin,
you stand up and walk away.
Yeah, let me walk away. And sometimes I'll have emails up 2-3 days.
Yeah, right. I get it. So,
and then I'd be like,
that introspection, you're trying to make sure, and so to that point, this is what I was saying, I'm not I don't just react. And I think that's just, I think that's indicative of being in your fit. Life has taught me that you can't just formulate an opinion and react and act as though it's the absolute truth, because it's not. And it's not always a perfect thing, because we're human and we're flawed, and you might catch me in a day where I go off on somebody in Lowe's and people got their cameras out. So,
right. We all have triggers.
Right.
I don't care. But I think that at our age, what we've done is we've done a lot of the foundational work, and it takes a lot to move us. There are things that can move us, but it takes a lot. And so, and we know how to, I believe that we're strong enough that, all of the outside forces that find its way into our universe, we're strong enough and mature enough to not allow it to negatively impact or take us out of who we are, because we're clear about that.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah,
so.
I think it's harder when you're younger because you're not clear. You don't know your voice.
Yeah.
You don't know what you like, dislike. You're learning yourself. And so it's harder.
And you also don't know how to humble you are so egocentric. You don't know how to humble yourself. And because in order to figure out who you are, you have to have some humility.
That's right.
You can't walk around, because if your ego is entering the room first, Like that's
Yeah.
you don't know how to be humble and hear or receive anything because you think you know everything.
Yeah.
And you think when you
And Scott, you and whatever it is that you're giving or getting, uh, so humility. While you were talking about it in terms of giving it, you also have to understand it enough to give it to yourself.
yes. And that
Like,
so I, you know, I am so as I have an acerbic wit. Like I know that my wit has a bite to it.
yeah,
And my responses sometimes have a bite to it. But there's two things that people don't know about me. One is that when I have said whatever I have needed to say, I'm done with it. The minute the last word leaves my mouth, I'm completely over it. Like I've said what I needed to say, whether you understand it or not. I am done with the whole thing. And the other thing is that as hard as I am on other people, I am 100 times harder on myself.
yeah,
And so that humility or that grace that I do not have it with myself. And
yeah,
that right
yeah,
there is the crux or the catalyst for
yeah,
most of my depressive moments
yeah,
because I am beating myself up for things that I have done or haven't done in all of the years that have brought me to 54. And I got to stop because I'm getting ready to start crying. So go ahead.
yeah. No, I'm participating I guess it's a book club. So Pastor Jeff is hosting this book club for his church. And so I decided to participate. He sent it to me and I was like, I'm gonna participate. And we were talking last week about um, how, or he asked us the question, what is the one thing that you've done? Actually, I got the notes right here. It's,
Wait, is that the notes you were writing at the beginning of the call?
I take notes. You know, I look, no. It's another notebook. So you know me. I got plenty of checklists, notes. The conversation was about being defiantly confident and
Competent or confident?
confident.
Oh,
And I was like, at first I wasn't, and we're reading this book called Psalms for Black Lives,
okay.
Reflections for the Work of Liberation. And so I initially I had an issue with the defiant, the word, like I see it in a negative connotation, but the way that it's being presented is in a positive light.
Oh,
And,
see,
and
I kind of heard it as uh not I can't even spit it out because it's a funny joke that I was gonna make, but it's about you. Um, I heard that as showing up and not saying I apologize for being like,
well, maybe I don't. That might be an example, but I didn't initially. I'm like, I don't see my confidence as being defiant, but as the conversation went along, he asked us the question: have we ever done something? Have we ever had has something ever happened in your life where you made a decision and you realized you didn't make the right decision,
oh
and
my,
that thing has haunted you, for years, and you wish you could go back and undo it? And what do you do with it? And for me, it was, and again, centered around defiant confidence. And how could we have shown up, defiantly confident? And for me, it was a situation where I was right out of college. There were three, and we're at work, my first job. There were 3 or 4 of us who had gone to my college, Fort Valley State. I was the only full-time person. Everybody else was a temp. And it was after Clinton's second term. He had just won. And we were all at lunch. And all of us so there are 4 of us that are Black and a supervisor. So there were 5 of us. And then there's another supervisor who's sitting across from us, who's a white man. And he said to us, I just don't understand how Clinton won again. I mean, who voted for him?
He was saying that to y'all?
Yes, he did.
Wow.
And he challenged us, at work. Like that was, I didn't have enough. I didn't know myself well enough then to kind of know how to respond because, I was afraid if I say anything, I may lose my job, because he was a supervisor. And the other Black supervisor was a female. She didn't say anything. And one of my close friends was like, well, there's something I like about affirmative action and something else she said. And we were all sitting like, girl, like, why did you say something? I mean, we all were. And we all talked about it later. And then I had this moment where I felt ashamed that I didn't say something because I was like, if he was confident enough to challenge us in that way, we should have, and we all voted for.
Right. Right.
And we felt, I guess, powerless against him.
And truly, that was his intention in challenging to make you feel voiceless and powerless. And like you've said to me, and I'm a paraphrase, but you said one of the things you watch me when I walk into rooms or walk into whatever, and I walk places, and we've had the conversation about my parents making it very clear to me that wherever I am, I belong.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I've always had a voice. I've always felt. You okay?
Yeah.
That's another reason why Wendell ain't over here, because he and Steven over there are sick. And so because of that, I've always felt I've had a voice. I may not have had the words because of my own immaturity or my own just inability to articulate myself or being introverted. Because we talked about it earlier, how I was having a conversation at my job and how the words instantly came to me and I was kind of surprised by it. But I've always known I've had a voice because my parents have instilled in me that I belong in any room that I'm in, any store that I'm in, anywhere I am, I belong there. And I have every right to be there.
And so, and it was the opposite for me, of course.
Yeah.
So I don't have that.
I think that's true for most people. And I think that people don't understand, like people project because they didn't get that lesson, that they project it onto me and think that I'm a snob or they think that I'm arrogant or whatever.
And I always, and for me, Scott, I always looked at you and was like, whatever that is, that's what I need. I don't know what that is, but I need some of that. That's how I always looked at you. I never looked at it like you're a snob or you're stuck up. I was just like, how does he do that? And then I studied. I'm like, oh, and I pay attention to, conversations and that's what I do. I don't see, I get, maybe that's just how I'm programmed, but I see things in people. I think I can get past the bullshit and see the core.
Yeah. Right.
And not be intimidated or afraid and curious enough to know what that is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes it's not even necessarily good qualities or traits. Like with some of my straight friends, some of them have some really bad qualities and traits. I'm interested in that, how they got there. How, and the lesson for me is, and don't do that.
Right. Yes.
Right. Don't fall to how, we all get here, honestly, how we get to any space in life or place. And so, yeah, I'm always bringing it back to me, like, what do I learn from this? How do I ensure that I'm going to be well in these moments? How do I make sure I don't go down that road? I can learn from other people's lessons. Like I always see things from that perspective. And maybe it's my curiosity. I don't know what that is, but, or my empathy. I don't know. I've always just.
Or it could just be your introspection and always wanting to grow and be better.
Yeah.
And finding your growth through other people, which is really the connection that are how we are all connected through pain and growth and just life. Like, and I think that there are more connections than there are disconnections.
That's right. Yeah.
But people don't recognize that. Like, I think people are dismissive of that.
Yeah. we were talking about, just how do you take care of yourself, I guess, in this. I think we're in a world today that is we're all super hyper, sensitive to everything. We're seeing, feeling, hearing, reading everything because information is just coming in.
Yeah.
And everybody's trying to figure out. And I think at some point we'll find our way through this. But I think that everybody, like we've said through the pandemic, a lot of couples didn't make it because they got.
Oh, that's interesting. Home. I don't know any couples that broke up because of
the. Oh, I know plenty. Yes, you do.
I do.
Yeah, they went on our trip, on your birthday trip.
My birthday trip. Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I didn't think about it as being directly related to the pandemic, but you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I think it exposed a lot, being in closed quarters. Either you really liked each other or you didn't, and it uncovered that. It brought those things to life. Even like people who use work to escape their families.
Oh my God. Yeah. Now I do know those people, right?
Yeah. And they realize I don't like.
Well, I experienced that, like even like me in my condo, like, and I, being home, I realized I did not like my neighbors, like, so, and which is why I bought a house, like, so it's a similar kind of thing because I realized like my neighbors were obnoxious and like stomping around all times of the day and night, and my next door neighbor having loud conversations, and I'm trying to work on my conference calls, and it's like, shut up, like why are you talking at the top of your voice? So and we think like concrete walls, like, so for me to hear that, it was just like obnoxious.
I think that this moment is really, I'm hearing a lot, seeing a lot about being mentally well, taking care of yourself. I'm hearing people say check in. Let me just make this point about check in, because I wrote that. That's what I wrote down earlier. Okay. Check in on people. And I heard someone say, check in on your strong friends or check in on your happy. And then I was just like, well, not even just the strong one, check in on your friends.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Whether they're strong, in Twitch is bringing him back into the conversation. I would have considered him a happy friend.
Right. Yeah.
But as we know, there's duality in our personalities, and we have different sides, and no one can be that all the time.
That's right.
And when you're living in a society that doesn't support it, and we don't have things that allows you time to get well, you got to carve it out for yourself. So you gave the example earlier, like I'm not responding to it. I'm not, I'm taking care of myself. Like, you got to know that. You got to, and be okay with it.
Yeah.
We're not sending out Christmas cards. I'm okay with, And I'm gonna hear from somebody, because there are people who called me last year and they were like, I look forward to your Christmas cards every year. And they were older family
Oh,
members and friends.
okay.
And I'm like, I know, I need to do better. But I also know the reason I'm not gonna get sucked up every holiday season, because it's a lot. Putting up all those freaking decorations I didn't put
Oh
up.
my God. Well, and so just so people know, like Wendell is serious about his Christmas tree or Christmas decoration. Like he has reindeer that are like come up to my chest, and he puts them all out. And his yard and house are beautiful. But every year I'm always like, you guys steven up on that house. And his house is really tall. Like, I don't know, it's maybe what, 100 feet on your second story? Like it's tall. Like it's a
It's the
big
third. That's our third level. We
right.
gotta be, yeah.
Yeah. So
So,
and they do it like the whole house is lit up. Like,
and
yeah.
what's crazy is, like, I've had neighbors and my cousins who moved over. Everyone's like, no lights this year. Like, we missed the lights. Like, there's pressure to put up the lights,
Right.
but I'm
Yeah.
just like, I don't have the space. I'm sorry. I don't
Yeah.
have the mental capacity or energy to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And while I understand it, some of the things that neighbors have told me, particularly older females. One lady was like, Wendell, I was having a really hard day and I gotten off work and I saw this glow, because my house sit on the top of a hill
Yes.
on my street. And she was like, I was coming up the hill and I just saw a glow. And she was like, and then I got up to your house and it was she's like, it just put a smile on my face. And so I know that others
gets a smile from your house?
Say what?
You know who else gets a smile from your house?
Who?
Georgia Power.
Oh, right. Exactly. Yeah. And so I understand, how that is helpful, but I'm also,
yeah,
I got to take care of me first.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not well, I don't have, what I give to others has to be the overflow.
Yeah.
I have to have something in the cup. What's in the cup is for me.
Yeah.
The overflow is for others. Yeah. So I got to take care of me. I used to, as someone who's a giver, I used to give what I needed. I mean, I've given my rent to people who don't pay me back, didn't pay me back. That used to be me. And then it was like, dude, if you ain't okay, like, yeah, you got to be okay. You got to take care of you first before you give anything to anybody else. So I can't be concerned about others' health, wealth, whatever, if I'm not healthy and,
Yeah, because if you're not healthy, you won't be here. Like that, then that's right. That defeats the purpose of doing all that work of taking care of others. So you are starving yourself to feed other people, which is not
right.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I can imagine it's amplified internally when it's your job to do that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, particularly if it's your job and your job is always with you when you walk down the street and people have an expectation of you being what they see. And that's probably a lot. Like that's a huge responsibility that's on your shoulders, and it makes it difficult for you to leave your house, I would imagine, because I can't imagine, like when I'm out and about, like I'm in my own world and I don't pay people a lot of attention. So if somebody walks up to me, and I'm also very guarded, so anybody that walks up to, it could be you, and if I don't, and I'm like focused, my first response is like, what is going on?
Right.
I don't, like, I'm not that I don't want to say approachable, because I am, but if I'm in my own little world, like doing my list checking, I'm not paying attention to anyone else. I'm not paying
we're like in that way.
Yeah.
I'm the same. I always got that list in my head.
Yeah. And so if you're a taskmaster, I have no clue what's going on around me.
Oh my
Like I'm
God.
aware of stuff, like, like I'm aware of something's about to pop off or that kind of stuff. Um, and I'm also aware of who's around me, but I don't see and pay attention to every single person.
Yeah.
Just because that's not, yeah, I live in my own little world, really.
Yeah, we're going through life. There are moments I can do this. I can
Yeah.
go through life just like this.
Because I'm
But
focused, like I want to get done what I like. I don't like being in stores. I don't like grocery shopping. I don't like clothing store. Like I don't like being in there. Like it's just like I want to get what I need and get the hell out. Like I don't want
right.
to experience all that crap. Like I
Yeah.
just don't. Um,
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
oh, I know. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to make sure I made the point of, in checking on your friends, or check on yourself first. Check in on yourself. Be
Yeah,
kind to yourself. Take care of yourself. Um, if you don't have, close family and friends to lean on, like you gotta find your outlet.
yes.
You
And
can't.
it means knowing what it is. So a lot of people don't know how to take care of themselves either. Like
Yeah.
they've not done that kind of work. And so they don't know what it means to turn your phone off and watch TV or read a book or take a bath or drink a glass of wine or go for a walk or get a massage or all of those things, or go play basketball, or the things that make you smile is how you take care of yourself. The things that help you decompress is how you take care of yourself. Like it's escapism. Like
And
it
sometimes it is faking it until you can make it,
sometimes,
really. I mean,
yeah.
like, we, like during the pandemic, I picked up drinking heavily like a lot of people. I think I shared with you, I went outside to our recycled bottle and I'm like, when did we drink all, like, what in the, I can't.
I said something to you and I was like, you're drinking. Like Wendell is not a drinker. Like we will go someplace and Wendell maybe have one drink that he may not finish. And so I think I said to you once we were out and I was like, you're drinking a lot.
Yeah. But you know what? I was okay with it because I never got drunk. Let me just
Yeah,
say that. I know my limit. I was drinking a lot more and I was gaining weight while I was drinking, but I was okay with all of it because I was like, it's helping me cope at this moment. It may
right,
not be the best coping mechanism,
right,
but it's keeping me in between these lines.
right. Yeah, like so
And
I think I told you that, when I had my physical in September, my doctor said to me, your A1C is elevated. And he was like, what's going on? And he's like, your A1C has always been whatever. And he's like, it's not a lot, like it's nothing to be concerned about, but I noticed that there's a shift. And I said, well, I have been drinking grape pop. And he looked at me, he was like, what?
I
And
know I'm
and so I said to him, I was like, it reminds me of my childhood. And I was having 2 and 3 grape pops a day. And so literally the night before my physical, I had 2 grape pops. And so my A1C, he was like, well, that will do it. And he was like, and you need to stop. And so ever since then, I still have grape pop in my refrigerator that I bought in September because I have not had one. And
yeah.
after he told me that, and I was like, I don't want to be a diabetic. Like, I don't, like, I have
Yeah.
no interest in that.
Yeah.
So I completely stopped. But it was because it was making me, it was comfort for me. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
how some people will eat like mac and cheese or whatever you find, there's comfort food for everybody. Well, I found my comfort in grape pop, like,
Yeah.
because it reminded me, my mom always kept grape pop in the refrigerator. My grandparents, my uncles, everybody kept grape pop solely for me because they knew that
Yeah.
I loved grape pop.
Yeah.
Um,
And let me say this too, like, while I made the example of, drinking and being okay with it, I mean, I understand that someone else's um
vice.
ability, yeah, it may be their vice, and
Yeah.
it may not be something they can,
Control. Yeah.
control and indulge in,
We all
like,
have it. We all
yeah,
have one. Like so
yeah,
I have several, to be honest. Like
yeah.
shoes, um, eating, like sweets is another one, like baking and yeah, right. So I mean,
You
there's
know,
like
you know, if it's sweets in the house, who gonna eat it every day until it's
all the
gone,
time.
and then
And
get mad.
right. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
mad
Why
with
you
you for
bring it?
bringing it, but I'm gonna eat
Right.
it every day. I
Because I
cut.
eat it out of
Look,
my house.
right. You get it out of your house and bring it to my house,
That's right.
and I'm cussing you out as I'm pulling it
As you're
out.
eating it. That's right.
Fix it with a bowl of ice cream.
Some people is shopping. Like we have a friend who shops, and I'm always on. Like she was saying yesterday, she was going to Michael's, and now a few days before she was like, "Okay, Scott, I'm not buying anything else." And so yesterday we were on the phone, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Oh, I'm going to Michael's." I was like, "What exactly are you going to Michael's for?" And she's like, "Oh, I need to buy." I was like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, she's like, "Never mind. I'm getting off the phone with you." I was like, "You were the one that said it to me. You weren't buying anything. Like you're out. Like I'm just holding you accountable for your words. Like that's what you said to me. I wonder why you're shopping." So
Remember, I got a friend ex-roommate, who used to want to get up every Saturday and go shopping. However, we would go shopping, but he didn't buy anything.
who's
I
that?
would come home with bags, packed.
Oh.
I would come home with bags of stuff, and we would only be going because of him. And then finally, I was just like, I'm not, I can't go.
I think that's because like when we were kids, that was the thing. Like so for me as a child, that was Saturday. That's what we did. Like we went grocery shopping, and then we went to the mall. Like that was the thing to do, I guess. Because I remember that. Like we
Yeah.
would always go shopping on Saturdays. Um, so I wanted to talk about, because I made the comment about somebody asking me, what can you do to be respectful? So I was talking to a friend of mine. One of the things I've never talked about here is that I'm friends with a lot of straight guys. And I guess maybe we could talk about that one day, because I'm fascinated by as to why I'm friends with straight guys, but I am friends with straight guys. So I'm gonna have a conversation with a close friend of mine who's straight and who's married, who has kids, and we've been friends for years. And I'm gonna have this conversation with him tomorrow that I'm gonna post, and his wife is gonna come on, and we're gonna talk about like what it's like to be friends with a gay man, and when she comes on, like did she have any thoughts about our friendship, and all of the dynamics of being friends with a straight gay friendship. So when we talked about doing this conversation, he told me that he started this company because a friend of his sent him a box, and in the box it had razors, it had lotion, it had shaving cream. He said it had cologne that he loves, and he started this company. And and there was a note in there that said, "I'm just checking on you." He loved that, and I love that. Like I think that's an amazing idea, like particularly guys to guys sending those kinds of things, because guys don't really check on each other like that. I mean, like particularly straight guys, like they just don't. So he said, and I wanted to talk about this because I love this concept, I love this idea, and I think it's a really perfect unintrusive way of checking on someone and just letting them know that you're thinking about them, particularly if someone is dealing with depression and they're in the house and they're not leaving. And there's a way, like you can put stuff in a box that is loving and kind and caring for someone who is dealing with depression. And you don't even have to mail the box. Like, you can just drop it off at their house. Like, it's kind of like a care package that, that, well, my parents used to send to me when I was in college. Like, my mom would send me cookies and all kinds of stuff. And she always would put a check in there too. But so if anybody wants to send me a box, please put the check in there.
Yeah.
So I think that, anyway, I love the idea. And so I'm going to have this conversation with him tomorrow, and then I'm going to record that and upload that. And I just wanted to say thank you, Wendell, for initiating this conversation, because I think it's great. Like, I hope people will have more conversations like this with their friends, because it's necessary. Like, everybody is struggling, but nobody's talking about the fact that they're struggling.
And talking about solutions.
How
so I like the box idea because it's a solution. It's not fully baked, but it's a start, right?
It's a way to reach out. It's a way
right.
to just say, hey, I'm here, and I want you to know I'm here. Like, and I'm thinking about you. And yeah, like, it really is just a way it's a more personalized way than texting somebody or even calling somebody. Like, it is just a nice way that you don't have to do a lot of legwork. Like, you can just go on his website and order something from someone.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think sometimes the other thing I would add to that, I think, like with our friendship, one of the things that it has manifested itself into is sort of therapy somewhat, because we talk about it a lot, and we don't stop with what the problem is. You give your perspective, what you would do, what you've done, and then it leaves me with something more than just my own, thoughts, which are limited. And, when you have those boxes, like we talked about, compartment, that stuff starts getting heavy.
Yeah.
You don't know how to solve for things.
Got a whole shelf of compartments, though. Like,
That's right.
Yeah.
And when that stuff piles up, that's when it gets heavy, and you can't see your way out.
Yeah.
And you got to have outlets, something, and talking about it with other people that you trust, getting their perspectives. And maybe there's some, what has been great about our friendship is I've seen, while we grew up differently, it was similar values.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm always, that's why so I trust that, and then, but your perspective is sometimes uniquely different than mine, and it helps aid in my unpacking.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have another perspective.
Yeah. The same is true for you, because you're very pragmatic, and sometimes I am not. Like, I am. Like, I have tunnel vision, like, and there's things that factor in for me, like my, being a spoiled kid, or like, used to getting my way, like, and a lot of times, particularly when it's around emotions and stuff, like, I am used to getting what I want, and while I logically I know I can't always have what I want, that still doesn't negate the fact that I want what I want.
Yeah.
So I think that, like, it's symbiotic for us, or it's reciprocal. That we give each other, and our lives are very parallel, like, most of the time. Like, the same stuff that I'm dealing with, you're typically dealing with in a different fashion, but it's similar.
Like, recently you and I have started to say, I'm going to speak for myself, because a lot of times we'll be like, and then you'll be like, well, we need to speak for ourselves. So
because generally, like, if it's happening to me, it's usually happening to you.
Right. Yeah.
It's just kind of uncanny, but it used to, like, freak us out. But I think now we're just like, I already know.
Right. I think I'm interested, by the way, in the conversation with Dwight. I hope people will join it, because I definitely will watch it. Because as you know, I have a lot of straight friends as well. Most of mine are from the military,
Yeah.
and I know some of the whys because it's been so many years, you know,
Yeah.
how we get here. But I would imagine, Scott, it will end up being similarly the whys will why you are connected will be similar to how you connect to everybody else. Like
Yeah.
it won't, you know.
Yeah.
It'll be all those traits and things. It's uniquely different, you know, but it'll come back to some core values and, you know.
But there are things that I want to talk about that with him that he and I have never talked about. Specifically, like one, when he and his family lived here, we went to the gun range once to shoot, and you know, we went and shot guns and we had a good time. And then when we were leaving, the guys behind the counter thought we were on a date, and we had driven there separately. So I got in my car and I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, why did they think on a date? And so I called him and he's still sitting, we both are sitting in the parking lot. And I was like, what just happened? And he was like, I don't know. Like, he was freaked out too, but we never really talked about, like, it made me uncomfortable because we were like in the country of Georgia with all these rednecks and we're in a gun shop. And I was like, is somebody about to follow us? Like, what is going on right now? I was really weirded out by that. But I don't even know that I ever shared that with you.
You didn't. I'm interested in similarly, when you guys show up with the same shirt on to a function.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck is that?
The exact same shirt. Like, well, and my mom bought my shirt and his wife bought his shirt, but we showed up to dinner with the exact same shirt on. And his wife was there and we took a picture. It's on my Instagram if you guys see it. But yeah, like I
mean, and it crosses over into unfamiliar places and conversations and spaces. So I'm really interested in that conversation.
Yeah,
because there's a lot to learn about these unknown spaces that we don't typically see. I think sometimes those relationships or situations are better information or insights into some of life's other problems or things that we're going through. It's telling when you have these unlikely situations and can.
Well, it's like I said earlier, like there are more things that connect us than.
That's right.
So,
yeah.
But I don't think that because people have, they can't see the bigger picture. They are so mired in their experiences or, you know, whatever their misconceptions or preconceived notions or, you know, biases or prejudices or whatever the, you know, life has taught you, that you don't allow yourself to, you know, forge those friendships or see the likeness in other people to connect. So, all right, sir. I'm surprised it's so quiet in your house. Like, are they working in there?
No, remember they left when you called me earlier. I didn't answer. They were leaving at that.
No, but I thought the countertop people were coming.
They haven't made it. They told me they would be late.
Oh, okay.
So they haven't made it. I'm just like, okay.
All right. Well,
hey, I want to say this. I love you, Scott Bogan.
I love you too, Del Carter Williams.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good day.